I want to kick things off with a game that I actually didn't expect to talk about this week because it is in early access for folks who got the deluxe edition with Like a Dragon Ishin. Do I have to yell it,
Yeah,
right?
you
When
have
I
to
say
get
it?
excited.
Yeah,
Like
it
a
is an
dragon.
exponential. Yeah.
Ishin!
Okay. I think I can just yell Ishin or Ishin, however you say that, but I don't have to yell the whole thing. I think it's just that word.
No, you have to be like depressed when you say like a dragon.
Like a Dragon
And
Ishin!
like a dragon. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Thank
That's
you.
canon. That's canon,
Thank you.
everybody.
That's the most involvement I'm going to have in this because it's a very interesting looking game. It looks awesome, but a couple of you are playing it. I know that this series, and Kyle, you can tell us more about it, like how it's connected to the series, but some of you are super fans, especially Kyle, of this series. So tell me about this game. You got early access to it.
This is Kyle's Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Hear
I'm
it,
like, well, Harry Potter's been my Harry Potter game, to be honest, but
No, I mean in terms of like I was already a fan.
fan, like pre-existing
Yeah,
fandom. Yeah.
This is
that
my
makes sense.
obsession, that type of thing.
Yeah, I'm like 6.5 hours in. I really spent my day playing.
Okay, motherfucker.
What?
That's ridiculous.
What do you mean?
The game just came out.
I know,
6.5 hours.
I took the day off, man.
Derek's like, Ishin!
Oh.
Yeah, Ishin. Just a bunch of Ishin.
All right, so
anyways,
give me, like, what? Give me the elevator pitch real quick before you talk about.
Man, the elevator pitches is that like you're taking a lot of familiar faces and character models from like the Yakuza series, and they're kind of personalities in a way, and you're bringing them over and repainting them into this like samurai story. It's like takes place in 1867. So like it's kind of like the samurai days are still around. It's not like it is the waning days. There's a lot of ronin and stuff like that, and it all plays into the story of like these fiefdoms and stuff like that are kind of like being oppressed by the greater empire. And like so you as a character, and all those characters are like mix max now, so maybe like bad guys are now allies, like in terms of like their faces, in terms of your relatability to previous series.
So you're actually recognizing character models.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like again, and their personalities are kind of intact as well. They just may be on like a different side of things this time. And the story is like Harry Potter, absolutely.
Okay, gotcha.
Thanks for joining.
We're talking about
it's a revenge story, without like going into like kind of what happens in the beginning, because the beginning is kind of it's a big pop of a story, and I don't want to give away anything that goes on, but it's a real big drama like these Yakuza games always are. The combat I'm really enjoying. It's Yakuza combat, so if it hasn't been wowing you or even entertaining you at all, until now, that's not going to change.
So it's not like the Like a Dragon game we got a couple years ago.
No. So Like a Dragon. Judgment. That the Yakuza
that's
series
a little confusing
like
to me because this is called Like a Dragon.
So it's always been called Like a Dragon in Japan.
Okay.
And much like we all thought Resident Evil was going to turn into like Biohazard whenever 7 came out, we're like, oh, they're merging the names finally. Yakuza actually did that, where they're like, nothing's called Yakuza anymore. You got Yakuza 1 through 6, and now there's Like a Dragon, which is Yakuza 8. But it's called Like a Dragon 7, Like a Dragon 8, or whatever. And then you have this series, which is Ishin, which has always over there been Like a Dragon, but here it never came out, so we're getting it for the first time. Yeah. So hence the name.
Because this game came out before, right?
Yeah, it came out.
It's been
2013
or something like that.
They had to remake it to have it.
Yeah, they remade it in the Dragon engine, in the same engine as like the last couple games.
The Dragon engine. That's
so I have a question for you, since I'm not as far in, and you're saying, and I have done some combat. So I saw, like, when you start the game, it's clearly a Yakuza, like old school Yakuza.
Yeah.
But this has swords and guns. Does that make you feel like you're playing a different game at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So in terms of like the style of the combat, it's similar. It's a lot of flourishes, it's a lot of parries, it's a lot of dodging around and stuff like that, and just kind of like beating your way through fights. But now like you said, you have a sword and pistol and stuff, so it does kind of change things, because usually weapons in old games would break after a few hits. Obviously, they don't do that now. You actually have a gun that you're constantly upgrading. You actually have a sword that you're constantly upgrading or buying new ones. You have like armor and stuff like that you're wearing. It's by no means like Ghost of Tsushima or anything like that, obviously. And Derek, if you played a little bit of it, you can obviously already see that. It is a Yakuza game with samurai painted on top of it. But like the combat is still pretty interesting, like it's fun, and like all Yakuza games, you're unlocking a lot of moves. So what you start with is very basic, but at the end of it, you're doing some pretty like elaborate like combo combinations and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying it. The world that I'm in now is like super small, like even for like a Yakuza game. But it's dense. There's a lot of stuff there and everything like that. So you're constantly doing stuff,
you go
like
into
your
like a
classic
little
side
arena
missions.
or a fight area when you're in combat. Is that how it works?
Kinda, but like the arena is just where you were, but it does kind of block itself off.
A little bit of a boundary sets up.
Yeah, maybe people will come up and like like they'll be spectators or whatever. You don't have just free range to run all over the map. I could be wrong on that. They may have changed that in this one. That's how they've worked in Yakuza in the past. I just do a lot of hitting. I don't do a lot of running around and stuff like that. Fair. It's always really close quarters, like when you're fighting in these games, unless it's like a boss fight or something like that. So Yakuza games just are always like these really close, like streets and hallways and alleyways and stuff like that. So the arenas aren't too big, I would say, because that's trying to always put you towards something to pick up and use or something like that. So there being a boundary kind of helps you with the combat as well.
So you said it's not a huge
boundaries.
area. These games are typically kind of like linear with open areas, right? Where you can kind of sidetrack, but you're mostly in a linear space.
It's really an open world, like in all Yakuza games, and just like a GTA game, like there is a letter, an icon on the map that's like, okay, that's a main story. But then there's all these other icons and letters on the map that you can just walk up to, and it's like, oh, this is a side thing, or this is a mini game, or this is karaoke, or whatever, and this is just like that, so
this has all that mini stuff that these games are known for.
I did karaoke for like a whole hour today. It was awesome.
Oh my god.
The songs are like traditional Japanese. Century? No, they're called singing bars. It's a way to get like a cute, just to make it work. A cute thing in the game that's like reminiscent. Maybe they did, I don't know. I doubt it, but like, people you go up there and you perform like a song and stuff like that, and it's silly. And you're encouraged to do it because you're constantly building like relationship meters, like with like all the shopkeepers and stuff like that. So like shopping with these people, or doing errands for these people, or helping them make ramen or whatever, or doing, doing karaoke and stuff like that. It all like increases this meter. And when the meter fills, I guess you get something. I don't really know yet, but that's pretty classic for all Yakuza games as well. So. Yeah, they didn't do too much, to like reinvent the wheel here. It's the same Yakuza flavor. It's the same kind of pacing and everything like that. Just got a really cool backdrop. I really like. It's about. I don't know if y'all watch anime, so Dan, maybe you know this term, but like they do a lot of mentions of the wolves of Mibu. Like which is the Shinsengumi.
Okay.
So like they're kind of like the brutality, like police force, like kind of. Yeah. That kind of came out of like the empire, or from the emperor to kind of like control everybody, but they were like bad motherfuckers,
Yes.
Sorry for the drop, but that's what they were,
But they were
ridiculous language.
I know, yeah. The train was already rolling. I'm like,
it was like crooked cops, right? I mean, that's what, it was like crooked cops.
Yeah, I mean, it's all power, corrupts and everything like that. So people, Ronin would just join to become Shinsengumi, and they were, they were just ex-criminals that became police officers, And now, and like the whole idea is you're trying to infiltrate like their ranks to like get someone from within because of this revenge shell that you're on. And just all the name drops. These are all like historical names and phrases and stuff like that. And factions, it's just a fictional story. So it's pretty cool that, I was telling you guys in chat, they use just tons and tons and tons of jargon that I'm like, boy, I'm glad there's a glossary that you can just press start whenever you see a word you don't understand, because they throw out a lot of stuff even that I'm like, I don't know what that is. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm really enjoying it a lot. I hope it doesn't like totally take over my life, because I'm still enjoying Hogwarts too. But boy,
so even like this wolves of Mibu thing you talked about, they would explain that in that little glossary, right? They would give you like the background of that. Is that what you?
I didn't press it because I knew what that was, so I didn't look for it at that point. But the game itself explains what it is. Very detailed. Like the game, like, because even your character's like, I don't know what that is, and they're like, well, let me tell you, buddy. There's some bad people, dude. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. So anyone who likes Yakuza is gonna really like this.
30 minutes straight. So I was like, damn.
That's it's a Metal Gear Solid game, and that like every cutscene is like an hour. So
I think the most egregious cutscenes, and I'm including some of the Metal Gear ones from past, like in terms of just length, had to be the Xenosaga games on the PS2.
Oh, Xenosaga.
Dude, Xenosaga was like a movie. Yeah,
it was
you're watching an anime movie.
45 minute cutscenes sometimes.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
They were so
Metal Gear Solid 4 still has the longest one, clocked at like 133 minutes or something like that. But like, Uncut. That's one constant cutscene.
Kojima's.
I remember
accurate,
long
and it's
ones.
the
I didn't
greatest moment
remember
of
that.
game, so everyone can shh. Yeah.
That's long for a movie when I was expecting a
long.
movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long one. That's for sure.
But
But
also,
so Kyle, is this what you were expecting from this? Does it feel like a remake of an old game? Does it feel like a new entry?
No, it kind of feels like the Kiwami games where it's like, oh, I know this is like old. There's some old bones here, but like the makeup that they put on top of it makes it feel just so like it was built today. You know, this doesn't feel that much different from Yakuza 6. You know, one of the later entries. You know, for that matter. So yeah, I mean, it's super good. And this is a game I always like read about on like message boards and like only saw trailers for and would see gameplay every once in a while like on YouTube, but like very through the looking glass, like, oh, we're never gonna get that game. This is this sucks. You know, that's the game.
That's the closest you got to learning Japanese, isn't it? Like, because you
I'm like, I'm gonna import this game and I'm just gonna let it play in front of me. You know, and it just it's a miracle we even have it. You know, I think because of Ghost of Tsushima and like this sudden pop for be like, hey guys, samurais are cool. You know, like which is so weird that everyone's just
the
like
Yakuza series. It just got way more popular towards the end, right?
That too. I think the love for samurai in general, and then this rise of Yakuza in the West, this fandom or whatever.
I think Dragon was a pretty big hit for them.
It's a huge hit. Yeah, 6 it started really picking up. Like
so, I think this is a good chance for them to continue using that title here, which they've already, like you said, been using in Japan for a while. But they're like, hey, let's keep using that title and do a throwback to a samurai age. And I think anyone who sees that title is like, oh, cool, it's part of that series from the game I played a year and a half ago, whenever that game came out.
Right. See, it wouldn't have made sense to call this game Yakuza because Yakuza, like, that wasn't a thing, you know?
So. Well, I get it. That's cool. Well, I'm glad you're liking it. Is anyone else playing it? I know not that you could give us more insight than Kyle did. Anyone else playing it?
No, I definitely can't get more insight than that because I only played an hour. And then I was like,
an hour.
I was like,
and then I was like, I couldn't get my mind off of a cave I was stuck in Hogwarts, so I had to switch over to that.
Yeah. Dude, I mean that's what happens.
My initial impressions as somebody I have finished a couple Yakuza games, and I've definitely played a lot of the other ones. Not a lot of them, but just played them all. I own them all. Is as soon as I started playing, I was like, oh my, okay. I definitely was expecting more as far as I thought it would play a little different. But again, I'm just in the beginning. That's why I was asking Kyle, like, is it gonna feel a little bit different? But it felt like a Yakuza game, and so I was like, oh, okay. Once I get used to that,
the combat's gonna change up enough where I'm like, it's gonna always feel familiar, but you know, you're gonna be like, there's more stuff to do, and if you're changing your styles and stuff like that, you know, like it'll keep.
To me, I've always been drawn into the desire to play these games because of the story and characters.
Yeah.
And I've always stopped, mainly because I will say I'm not in love with the gameplay. Like, I'm not just talking about this game, I'm saying in general. For the Yakuza games, I don't think they're bad. They're just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I can see that.
But this is one that I'm, like, kind of hoping that I think it's a good starting point because it happens before basically everything. And then, like you said, everybody's kind of randomized. It's not a, hey, this is a sequel. Like, this is the 6th one, so you should probably catch up, or you should have to watch a video because...
I mean, it might as well take place in a different universe, you know?
Exactly. So this feels like this is a game where I could just play it and not feel like I have to play other ones, so that's why I don't mind starting here.
I feel
Samurai are cool, you know? So,
Samurai are very
It's an easy gateway.
I can't wait to be able to start to... I'm not sure when it happens in the story, but, like... I've just been fighting with my fists so far in the game, very early on. So I'm eager to get, the gun and the sword that you're mentioning. And to get more side quests, because obviously at the very beginning you're kind of still trying to figure out your purpose in the game, where somebody you're talking to is like, here's my plan, here's my Grandmaster plan, and go do this. Now you're off. Go do this to start things up, to get things going. And I'm trying not to spoil it because it is kind of a big deal. But yeah, so like that's where I'm at in the story, and the few fights that I had were quite fun, reminiscent of the Judgment action and stuff like that. Because that's my experiences with the Judgment games. Not
Judgment's
so much
another one that's an easy one to jump into now because there's only 2.
yeah,
and they're not connected to the Yakuza series, right?
Not really. There might be some bleed over, but like
more Easter eggs and like nods to it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. It is funny when we're trying to be spoiler free, and because I do the same thing, but it's like, hey, I'm at the part where you talk to the guy about the thing, and he tells you to go do the other thing.
Yeah,
you know, what I'm
right
saying?
at the start, with all the talking.
It's with the guy. The guy. All right.
That
the guy.
He's at the place.
Also, this story introduces an aspect of samurai culture or that era that I wasn't familiar with, where some clans were just total dicks, and they just started wielding their power.
Yeah.
Just because they had it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that was a thing. When I think of samurai, I think of people with honor and stuff like that.
I think of Tom Cruise as the last samurai.
Samurai got really dirty there at the end.
That's one of the things I want to say that I like about the Yakuza games is their characters are so over the top. So when you have you have a group of baddies, they're beyond over the top, ridiculous.
Yeah.
They'll just be what did you say to me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
There's a lot of that where you bump into someone in town. And he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna fight you," and it's like
they're like wrestling heels.
I just killed 20 people. If you want,
like the NWO.
Time to go full anime.
I like when I'm in full sprint. By the way, just around the small hub that you're in when you first start the game, and when I run into a dog, it yelps at me. I think that's really funny.
I can't pet any of the cats or dogs, so it's obviously 1 out of 10.
Well, that's
two out of 10. 2 out of 10.
Sorry, everybody.
Should have led with that. We could have just skipped right.
Yeah, I know. We could have skipped the whole thing, though. I know. Yeah.
No, that actually does sound like a lot of fun. I'm so glad it's early access for folks.
So it's another bad release for this year. So
another bad release, right? Yeah.
Another bad release. Put it on the bad list.
In all seriousness, it's yet another over 80 on Metacritic of a new game for 2023.
Really? Wow. Well, this
at least I think it is.
Series,
it might be 79, but it's
they're always in the 80s and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's in that range that's enough to be like, dude, this is a good game. It's in that range.